What's up, guys? What another great week of football we had this past week. The Patriots were able to score a touchdown with 22 seconds left to beat the Cowboys 20-16. The Giants were able to kick a late field goal to beat the Bills 27-24. The biggest story this week was in Detroit. The Lions lost 25-19 for their first loss of the year. However, that wasn't even the biggest story to come out of this week.
6 weeks of the season, I would not have believed it. So, credit to Jim Harbaugh and his entire staff of what they've been able to accomplish this season.
It looks like he's been through the ringer. Looks like he played the game today. You saw him say no penalties. They've committed 15. Stafford throws, complete to Calvin Johnson. Stanford man nowhere in sight. And the San Francisco 49ers are 5-1 for the first time since 1998. Game 2, America's Game of the Week, coming up after these messages.
You saw the exuberance as Jim Harbaugh and the Niners were running off the field. Watch what happens next. There's a quick handshake between Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz. Schwartz says something to him briefly, and then this ensues. Jim Schwartz, you can see in the white top and the gray pants there, yelling and screaming back in Harbaugh's direction. Harbaugh's in the middle of that somewhere. The Lions and Niners then go toe-to-toe. You're going to see some people putting their helmets back on their heads as if a fight is going to break out. Some people trying to get in there and break it up. Both teams are going into the tunnel where the Lions' home locker room is there. So, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, they had that issue when they were head coaches in the Pac-10 in college at the handshake at the end of a game. Jim Schwartz apparently not happy with the boyish exuberance displayed by Jim Harbaugh, and I think we have guys now cooled off to the point where the Lions will go into their locker room first.
With that, let's get into this week's predictions. First matchup, the repeat, Ryan DeBerry against Team Lil Ging, Brad Gingrich. Breakout performer for Ryan will take Dwayne Bowe against the Oakland Raiders. He's put up double-digit points in his past 4 games, and the Raiders are one of the worst defenses in the league against the pass. See big points from him this week. For Brad, I'm going to take Greg Jennings against the Minnesota Vikings. I looked at 2 other guys besides Greg Jennings, and they were Tony Romo and Ray Rice. However, Devin Hester had a field day against the Vikings last week, so there's no reason that Jennings can't do the same. For the matchup, last week Ryan was upset and received his first loss of the season. Normally I'd take Ryan, however Brad's team looks set up for a nice week this week. I'm going to take Brad for the first time this year. Our next matchup, Rise of the Frogs, Michael Melvin against Everything Real Big, Andrew Johnson. Breakout performer for Melvin to take Darren McFadden against the Kansas City Chiefs. Although the biggest headline surrounding the Raiders this week was the trade for Carson Palmer, they still rely on the running game. Expect big points for Run DMC this week. For Andrew, I'm going to take Brandon Marshall against the Denver Broncos. One reason I picked him is because he's going against his old team for the first time since leaving. I expect him to go off for that reason. Also, the other reason was Matt Moore was throwing his direction a ton last week in that Monday night loss to the Jets. So I expect him to get the same amount of targets again this week. For the matchup, Melvin, you have a lot of guys that at key positions still not in your lineup. However, if you do replace them, I still see Andrew winning. Our next matchup, Team the Scrooge Bruder, Evan Bruder against Nighthawk, Trey Combest. For Scrooge, will take Tim Tebow against Miami Dolphins. After weeks of complaining, Broncos fans have gotten what they want. Tebow will be starting this week against a weak Dolphins defense. He might not be able to save the Broncos' season this year, but he may be able to resurrect Scrooge's. I like to look at him this way, though. For Trey, I'm going to take Matt Forte against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's all the Bears have right now. They'll give him 20-plus touches a week and a lot of points for him as well. Evan was able to pull off his first win of the year last week. Although I've been pretty high on Trey's team recently, I see Scrooge taking this one. Our next matchup, freaking huge gnomes, yours truly. Against Team Big Rod, Zach Roddy. For me, I'm going to take Ryan Matthews against the New York Jets. The Jets' run defense hasn't been as scary as it's been in the past. Matthews has been looking good so far, and I see big points for him here. For Roddy, I'm going to take Calvin Johnson against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons' pass defense hasn't really been that spectacular. Here's a fact, though, for you. The Falcons' #1 cornerback is 5'10", 183 pounds. Calvin Johnson is 6'5", 236 pounds. Enough said. Alright, last week was terrible for me. But honestly, I still have much of a chance as this guy.
Alright. Yeah, done. What up, brother? Nerd. What's up, dude? What's up, nerd?
Aaron's walking in, and we're going to have him bring in a whole tray full of soup.
You done got it in there.
No, he's not going to do it. What? I don't think he's going to go for it.
What up, Aaron?
What's up, dude?
Yeah, dude. Help us crowd, brother.
Is all flour for our friend Bam. We're going to antique him when he gets here.
Okay. Okay. What's up? Not much. How you been? High five! That was the best one. You got antiqued. I was so not ready.
I'm taking myself again this week. Alright, game of the week. Pawtucket Southpaws, David Edwards. Against the legend, Ronnie James. For David, I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers against the Minnesota Vikings. I already told you about the field day that Devin Hester had last week. But Jay Cutler also had a great game against the Vikings. That alone is enough for me to take any quarterback going against the Vikings the rest of the year, especially the fantasy MVP of the first half. For Rodney, I'm going to take Miles Austin against the St. Louis Rams. Like I've been saying these past couple of weeks, the Rams' defense is terrible. I see the Cowboys coming out this week with a bit of a chip on their shoulder and unleashing on the Rams. The matchup, this one's kind of hard to pick, honestly, since both of you have a lot of guys out of your lineups. But at the same time, I also see about 2 or 3 guys for both of you having good weeks, and the rest of your guys being somewhat mediocre. I'm going to take the Southpaws in a close one. Final matchup, rebuilding year, Lawson McDonald against the Guru, Will Robinson. For Lawson, take Matt Stafford against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, and the Lions have one of the best passing offenses in the NFL. With Javad Best out this week, I see even more of an emphasis on the pass this week for the Lions. For the Guru, I'm going to take Ben Roethlisberger against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals haven't been very good against the pass either. The Steelers have been very sporadic on offense so far this year, but I see them being on their game this week. Lawson was the call-in this week, so let's take a listen to what he had to say.
To hear what Lawson had to say and what other crap I have to say, tune in to part 2 of Week 7.